It's time for Inside the Patch with your Las Vegas Raiders. Here's Gnarley Charley.
Welcome to Inside the Patch. It's Gnarley Charley. We're ESPN Fresno, 1430 ESPN, your Valley local sports leader. But we are making the switch to ESPN Fresno. That's what we're going to start going by. That's the new thing. And I've got a special guest for the ESPN Fresno family, Gabe Camarillo. He is the host of Home Field Advantage on 1430. Gabe, welcome to the program, man.
Thank you for having me, Gnarley Charley. I listen every Friday afternoon. As a Raider fan, this is my outlet. I hear people just as frustrated as I am with the franchise.
Well, okay, so I know as you do your sports show, you have to be non-biased. Well, for today, you don't have to be. You can be Raider, silver and black. You can bleed all over the place with it, and it's okay.
Well, let me stop by saying I'm not that frustrated because I was really impressed with how AP turned the thing around. But now when McDaniels drove it into the bottom of the ocean and you had them literally lighting victory cigars because he left, how low do you have to go as a coach to have that happen to you? When you leave, they celebrate.
Okay, I'm going to take it back a step farther. When Derek Carr and Davante Adams, our Fresno State guys, are going to the Raiders, I couldn't have been more happy. I was like so excited. Unbeknownst to me, we were going to have the throw it to the bottom of the ocean, Josh McDaniels come and wreck the whole season. You know, I remember being on paper, it was going to be the greatest season ever, you know? And then, and as the stories come out now about how bad Josh was, which I can't do, it's like having a bad stepfather. And we're still talking. We're still bruised by it. We're still hurting. but we have to talk about it because he killed us. You know, he wrecked everything.
So I grew up loving the Raiders. My dad would take me to the games at the Coliseum. And so for me, when this first started going south was when they left Oakland, when they agreed to leave the Coliseum. And I'm like, I can't watch them anymore at an affordable price. I mean, I used to be able on a day trip to leave in the morning, tailgate around like 11 a.m., 12 p.m., and go to the game late, right? We can go to the game probably after the first quarter. But, you know, the Raiders, 2016, the best year of my young life because Derek Carr was slinging the ball around. Yeah. Michael Crabtree was making these amazing plays. And then they start really hot. Derek gets injured. It's never been the same since then, Gnarley Charley. I know they made the playoffs. I know they made the playoffs after that. I know that John Gruden I like John Gruden as a coach, honestly. I think he's my favorite coach of all the recent Raider coaches. Right. He did his thing, and then he didn't do his thing, and then he got fired, right? And then you have Bisaccia do really well. I'll get into a point here. This feels like one long nightmare where I get a little bit of optimism. I get a little bit of, okay, they're going to do something right. Bisaccia could have been hired. They get McDaniels. They bring Davante Adams in. It doesn't work because the defense is just as bad as it was the year before.
Exactly. Didn't help.
Now they have a chance to do something right and hire the guy who galvanized the locker room after.
Well, let's go back to the beginning of this season. So, like, here I'm going to do this Raider show, right? Yeah. I was so anti the coach, but you can't do a Raider show saying you hate the coach ever. You can't. And so I was trying. It got to the point where the people that are on the show with me are going, well, try to say something nice about him. And I couldn't think of anything. And I remember like the third, fourth game, I go, oh, this season's over. We suck. And then, like you said, they fire him. And we are lighting fireworks off. We're celebrating like we won the Super Bowl. We're lighting cigars. It changed everything. It changed the way I felt. You know, I mean, it was like, wow.
Has there ever been a coach more hated by a franchise that he coached? I mean, I'm trying to think about someone who literally him leaving was cause for celebration. It'll be national holiday in Las Vegas. Josh McDaniels fired there. And everyone will celebrate it. And I've never heard of a coach get that kind of reaction because that's how bad he was.
Well, JMFD. I think we do that. I think we just started something brand new. Yeah. Wait, okay. I want to go back to you. You were saying when who was the person in your life that, because I feel like everybody, whether you like the Rams, Niners, whatever, at some point you get seared into your heart. And it's usually a person or event. What about you? How did the Raiders become your team?
My dad's the hugest Raiders fan, and he goes back. I mean, he's obviously really into it because he goes back to the LA Raider days. And then when they moved to Oakland, him and his father would go to some of those Rich Gannon days. You know what's funny, Gnarley Charley? Unprompted, I didn't know I was doing this until yesterday. But I was watching Rich Gannon highlights over the weekend. And I watched his 2000 comeback against Peyton Manning when Peyton Manning and the Colts went up like 21-0. And then Gannon led them back in the RCA Dome. 2000 was a good year.
Huh? How old were you then?
Negative 1 year old. So I have to watch YouTube highlights. I have to watch YouTube highlights to learn about the good old days of Rich Gannon. And that was probably like the biggest Raiders success, that John Gruden, Rich Gannon team. And the 2002 team as well. But the Super Bowl obviously marred that whole season. But those are some of the best successes of like the last century. Like, isn't that sad? This century, since 2000, you got that year, 02, 16, and probably 2021 because they made the playoffs that year. 4 years where you thought, okay, they were a playoff team and they were successful out of 25 now. Yeah. This is why they got to do something right for once. And I think we'll talk about it, but they have a chance to do something right this offseason.
Well, Rich, when Rich Gannon was there, I used to be a season ticket holder. And when I was your age or even younger, like 7 or 8, that's when they won the Super Bowl the first time in the 70s. So that was they won 3 Super Bowls to about 84. Then we hadn't had anything since. Yeah. And then the Rich Gannon stuff came around. The other heartbreaker, Shannon Sharp scored like an 85-yard touchdown to put the Ravens ahead of the Raiders. And I was there. It was like the worst day of my life.
Well, Siragusa totally injured Gannon on purpose.
I think so. It was like, oh. But I remember that day that the Ravens broke our heart. It was the championship game, go to the Super Bowl. Metallica played. We were at the Raider game. All of a sudden, a big old bus, like not a bus, it's like a flatbed truck, but it was covered. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you hear Metallica, and I thought somebody was playing it really loud. I look up, they're playing in the parking lot. They drove a truck in there, dropped the curtain, and started playing Enter Sandman in the parking lot. And I was like, it's crazy. Crazy.
You don't get that in Vegas. If you try to do that in Vegas, I feel like security would shoo you away. Oakland was such a different vibe because it really matched the Raiders vibe. It was, we don't answer to authority. Sorry with Al Davis putting the finger to Pete Rozelle. I mean, Raiders have always been the stepchild in the NFL that you're proud of because they're successful, but you wish they would make different decisions. Like, did you really have to go out to the bar for the 4th straight day this week? That's the Raiders in the NFL family. But the Raiders are the most beloved franchise, I would imagine, by other franchise fan bases, They don't like our fan base because they think that we're crazy. But their fan bases love the Raiders because they respect that we are probably kind of badass kids here. I mean, that's not a word. Badass kids here in the NFL. And they didn't get that back. They got away from it because they got McDaniels, who was all buttoned up. He was all Belichick-y. He was all Patriots-y. You're asking someone who follows the rules to lead the rule breakers? That was never going to work.
Worst stepdad ever. We hated him. Oh, it's weird. Okay, I was looking at some YouTube footage of the 70s football. Like it was, and it showed the stands. And no one in those days wore, like, it would be a Raider game, and there's some guy in a green shirt, blue. They didn't wear jerseys and stuff. And I was like, that's so strange. And so then the Raiders became that team that started wearing all the skulls and stuff. That was like now every team has it. But when it first started happening, it was like Raider fans take their welfare check down to the Halloween store and spend it all on skulls and whatever, swords, eels, skeletons, and we became that thing. And then we had the black hole. And I hear what you're saying. Our fan base is just a little bit different in a great way,
Yeah. And other fan bases don't like that difference because they see it as obnoxiousness when it's really passion. People think, Raider fans are going to go to the games and fight. That's such a bad stereotype because I've been to plenty of Raider games. I don't think I've ever seen a fight, to be honest. I haven't seen a fight in my Raider games. So maybe you have. Okay,
at the Coliseum, there used to be fights, and the Coliseum's different. There's no shade. It's just an open bowl. And I remember one person would throw a beer for whatever reason. Next thing you know, it was like sprinkler fights. And you could just see the beers flying and then fist fights. And I think they raised the beer prices so people wouldn't throw them anymore because this is a $14 beer. I'm not throwing this thing.
Yeah. But I do remember, though, I saw one fight, but it was in the game. It was when Crabtree and Talib got into it at the Coliseum.
Oh, yeah.
Talib pushed Crabtree, or it maybe vice versa, because I think the year before.
It ripped his necklace.
The year before, Talib snatched Crabtree's chain, and Crabtree never forgot that. So I have seen fights in game, but personally, I've never seen a fight in the stands. But
right. Right.
Yeah, Raider fandom for me goes back to my dad, and I've just carried it on. And since I've been alive, they haven't been good. I mean, except for the 2 playoff appearances in recent years, which both came with Derek Carr. So it was really weird when Derek Carr left this year because I was so used to having Derek Carr as my quarterback. I have a Derek Carr jersey in my closet. I'm like, okay, well, he wasn't the answer, but do we have a solution? And I still can't believe to this day that Jimmy Garoppolo at one point was starting quarterback for the Raiders because that feels like a fever dream. It feels like something in like an alternate universe, but it was actually real. It was actually what happened. So,
well, don't you feel like it's kind of like everybody saw the writing on the wall that Garoppolo couldn't do it, except for the coach who he doesn't make that move unless he really thought it was going to work, because. But that was the start.
But this coach, so we're talking about a guy who was the most hated person in Las Vegas since I don't know when. I mean, when's the last time we saw someone this hated in Vegas?
Right. Well, another story I heard is like Hunter Renfrow, nicest guy in the world, and I heard that he was so mad at Coach McDaniels, he used to call him and prank call him and say like play me now or whatever, just stupid stuff. And McDaniels is, I guess the players were just a number, like shut up and run your pattern. And I think Hunter Renfrow is one of the most underused guys because part of his Renfrowness is that he runs a 5-yard out. He'll make 17 moves before he goes that 5-yard out.
Yeah.
But he knows what he's doing, but he gets to where he needs to go. So it just bothers me because he doesn't get to play.
This makes me think, because McDaniels misused him by not using him. Who was more at fault for the Raiders not meeting our expectations? Because you said you thought this team was going to be the best ever.
I did.
Was it McDaniels who was the reason, or was it Derek Carr not playing as well last year?
Well, I think Derek Carr, I have a couple answers to that. One, when Derek Carr played at Fresno State, Dave Schramm was his offensive coordinator. And I used to golf with him. And so one day I'm asking him, I go, well, Dave, I mean, like, what? Who's calling these plays? Because it looks like Derek's switching a lot of stuff at the line. He goes, I'll tell you something. David Carr comes into town on Thursday or Wednesday, the week we have a game. And Derek and David completely changed the game plan. And they do audibles. And I go, and the problem? He goes, it's working. If it doesn't work, we don't do that anymore. And he goes, I don't care. And I think that's one of Derek's strong points is knowing how to play the coverage and changing stuff when he needs to. Mm-hmm. McDaniels does not allow that. Gruden loved it. I remember Derek threw a couple touchdowns and he got in trouble. So that's not what the play was called. And that was, so the results didn't matter. It's his way or no way is kind of what
This makes me wonder because McDaniels worked with Brady for such a long time and Brady was successful, but I'm assuming it's by following McDaniels' blueprint. So is Tom Brady a system quarterback? Is that what we're saying here in a long-about way?
Maybe. I think
right.
He was.
And we heard it here on Gnarley Charley show, Bill Belichick made Tom Brady.
There it is. Well, so now, how do you feel about the quarterback issue? I mean, Aiden O'Connell, God bless his soul. I hate that he got number 4, and that was nothing to do with him. That McDaniels, once again, stepdad, put number 4 on him, and that just shows you what a jerk he is.
Yeah.
That was a jerk move. And I usually have better words for that, but that was a jerk move. And Aiden's like, hey, I don't care. Coach says I'm number 4. I don't care.
He wasn't ready. He
wasn't ready. And he might be an okay guy, but he's not the answer. He's not the answer for us, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. And what proved it to me was when they beat the Chiefs without him completing a pass after the first quarter. I was like, how is that literally possible? The defense was so good that you did not need Aiden O'Connell to complete a pass. Every time he threw the ball, it was an incompletion, Gnarly. And they still won the game after the first quarter. Because, of course, the 2 defensive touchdowns and Zamir White. I almost want to come on the show and say, why need to bring Jacobs back when you got a younger version of him in Zamir White?
Right. That's probably going to happen because just for financial reasons. I don't think Jacobs is going to come back. I don't know if Devontae's coming. I want Devontae to have a good year against the playoffs. I want that. That's me personally because I'm a Fresno State homer. That's kind of why. But I don't know if that's possible. But I think we need a new quarterback. I think I would say I don't want Russell Wilson. I don't want to do with Russell Wilson. But if we would have had Russell Wilson instead of Aiden O'Connell, like you said, he didn't complete a pass. Russell would have completed a pass or two. I mean, if we would have had just an average Derek Carr, anybody, think about what we could have done with the defensive plan in it this year.
Yeah, that's a good point. Although I would counter with this. I think he had the same type of team at Denver, right? Denver was similarly built with a good defense. They had an all-pro corner in Surtain. Offense wasn't as good. Honestly, compare the offense. Like, would you rather have Devontae and Renfro and Jacob/White, or would you rather have Sutton, Judy, and who's the running back? Javonte Williams? I don't know. Honestly, it's kind of even there with the offense.
They're kind of the same.
Yeah.
But you know what changed? You know what really changed, I think, this last year is something you can't measure. Is their passion. Their it's almost like when you go to a football game and the momentum turns, right? Well, there's no stat for that. But you can see it and feel it. But there's no way to and that's what happened with the Raiders this year. They flipped the momentum. Even if it was because our coach got fired, however we got there, but it was real. We could feel it and see it, and it worked,
Yeah, I think Wilson would be a good target just to stick it to Peyton for benching him early. I mean, he benched him with still postseason hopes alive, so that would be great. But honestly, why get an old guy? Why get an old guy? Why not try and go young with this quarterback position? Not with O'Connell. I mean, he had his chance, and unfortunately, you got to move on from him because there's no way I see him getting better. No. Maybe get one of the guys in the draft, but how would you get that, Gnarly, if you're having a middle round pick?
Well, here's the thing. We had, I think, our pick's 13th, right? Mm-hmm. We have not had that much success with our first round picks, right? We just haven't. Why not bundle them, ship them, Since we're not very good at them, let's use them. Let's just go get who we want.
All right.
Bet, 2 to 3 first round choices, we might be able to move up to second or third.
Right. The Niners did that, right? When they went up to get Trey Lance.
Yeah. Okay. That's a funny situation. Tell me. They did that. They shipped it, right? And what happened?
They got Brock Purdy, but the Raiders can't bank on that, okay? They don't got the magic that the Niners got or apparently the Patriots got getting these freaking all-pro quarterbacks in the 6th or 7th round. No, they need to actually draft well. They can't mess this up like the Niners did. Niners messed it up, but they got lucky. They need – okay, so which of the 3 quarterbacks are you most comfortable in? Which one of the guys would you say, okay, we'll trade the entire farm just so we can have this rookie quarterback?
Well, Caleb and Jaden, Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. Jaden, when he won the Heisman, gave Antonio Pierce a shout out because he coached with him in Arizona. The Bronco game, Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels were in our locker room for the Bronco game. There's already something going on here, with those two. But I also like that Drake.
Drake May.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's smart. But there already is a connection with the Raiders and those two guys. And if Cliff Kingsbury comes here, which for our offensive coordinator, which could happen, Kingsbury coached Pat Mahomes in college. He coached, and he's connected to Caleb now from USC. I mean, there's so many little connections. But I don't know if we could get Caleb in the draft.
No, I think Daniels is probably the get because he's not going to be top 2. He might slip out of the top 5. I think people are curious about, how legitimate the Heisman was because he didn't play great against Alabama. He played okay, but he was obviously great against everybody else, and that's why he won the Heisman. People probably thought Michael Penix from Washington should have gotten it. And maybe Penix is a guy that you don't need to trade up for, but Penix could fall to you.
But he doesn't get hurt a lot.
Go ahead.
He gets hurt a lot.
He gets hurt a lot. But you saw the game against Texas, right?
Yeah.
He was looking really good and really accurate. Now, against Michigan, obviously, he struggled a bit. But I feel like you either trade up for Daniels, because you're not going to trade into the top 2. Chicago is going to ask for a lot. Chicago might ask for Devontae Adams to be included in whatever pick there is, or whatever pick they're going to trade. So,
and he's
going to trade Devontae for Caleb Williams. Would that be something that you're interested in doing?
I hate to say but I think so. I mean, Devontae's great. But Devontae, he's got 2 Taco Bells.
That's for Devontae and a pick too, because they're not going to just want old Devontae with a big contract. They're going to want some draft compensation as well, like your pick and maybe next year's pick.
Do they get the Taco Bells that are in his house too? Does that go with the pick? Because he's got two now in his house. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna. I don't want to leave Crosby. Crosby is nobody can take him. I don't want him to.
Okay. Yeah, the bear might get greedy and say that, but you're gonna say no Crosby, but take Devontae, take this year's draft pick in the first round, and take next year's first rounder too.
I mean, I was sad when Chicago took Khalil Mack. I was sad. I was like, that broke my heart, man. But
they're gonna take another one too. Now they're gonna take Devontae in this potential trade. So you're okay with that? Okay, interesting.
I mean, I would. I don't know. I mean, I don't want Devontae, but maybe because there's Fresno State stuff. And I want him to leave a mark.
Yeah. If I came to a shop looking for gummy bears and they're all out of gummy bears, if Devontae went to Las Vegas for Derek Carr and they're all out of Derek Carr, then what's Devontae still doing in Vegas? What am I still doing in the store? I'm gonna leave. I'll go find gummy bears elsewhere. Not saying Devontae is gonna follow him to New Orleans, but he will go somewhere where there is a stable veteran quarterback. And Justin Fields isn't necessarily a veteran, but he is more stable than whatever rookie the Raiders will draft this year.
That's true. Well, but the other thing I think about too is like Devontae grew up a Raider fan, and there's no income, there's no state tax in Vegas. That's when you got $150 million coming in. That's a substantial amount of money he gets to keep. You know, Derek or no Derek.
He's like a Lamborghini in a trailer park. Like you're driving in a trailer park and you're like, why is this Lamborghini here? He does not belong. He's way too good for this place. Someone get that Lamborghini's owner and get him out of here. That's Devontae Adams right now. He honestly is probably too good for the Raiders, too expensive for a team that's trying to rebuild.
I think you're right. I think, and it's sad because I want him, but it's like if he's not being used and they only throw him when he's got three guys on him, and they still throw it to him, and he still makes these ridiculous catches. Yeah, but maybe he's not right for us.
And if they don't get a quarterback, I do want to see them get a good receiver, like a Rome Odunze from Washington. Maybe a couple other receiver guys. Xavier Worthy could be like a second-round pick from right here in Fresno. Went to Texas, so get some receiver help. Get young there, because I'm noticing these receivers in the draft are getting better and better. Like Garrett Wilson was a really good pick. Zay Flowers for the Ravens is really good. So get a first-round receiver if you don't get a quarterback is what I would recommend to AP.
You know, I was thinking too, Gabe. I thought maybe we get some nice sponsor to sponsor you and I going to a Raider game together in a private suite or something. I mean, if you're out there, we would be willing to go in your place and sit and watch the game for you. Sponsor out there that's full of money. You can afford it.
Yeah.
And we'll wear your shirts. So,
or I'll wear this sweatshirt. I don't know.
Yeah,
Las Vegas Raiders sweatshirt.
Gabe Camarillo, man, thank you so much for being on the show. And you know what? Anytime you want to drop by, you're welcome every week, man. So,
all right. Thank you, Gnarly Charley. Pleasure to be on your show. Like I said, I listen every Friday afternoon. It keeps me sane because some of the Raiders moves have been insane lately. So,
yeah. It's our stepdad. We got rid of it, though. But, man, it still hurts. I'm not over it yet.
McDaniels, I'll never forgive you, just so you know.
That's right. Hey, stick around. We got more Inside the Patch on the way right here on 1430 ESPN, your Valley local sports leader.
We'll be back with more Inside the Patch on 1430 ESPN, your official home of the Las Vegas Raiders.